This is the future.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Warframe video. Today I want to talk about Warframes that give the whole team insane survivability. There's really a lot of things to talk here, as we all know that there are a bunch of setup available in Warframe when it comes to survivability. The very least is of course armor, health, and health regeneration. Warframes like Oberon can provide health regeneration and armor to his allies upon casting Renewal while standing in his hallowed ground ability. This is the original healer support Warframe in the game, but right now the meta is dominated by Wisp Prime. The Warframe's mode ability can provide health boost and insane health regeneration for the whole team without worrying about energy economy, just like Oberon's Renewal skill. You can simply place the health mote in the field and it will be active for the whole duration of the mission. All your allies need to do is just get inside the Mozart to get the buff and go freely roam the area. Once the buff expires, all you need to do is go back and get the buff again. The best part is, Wisp also has other buffs in the form of attack speed, fire rate, and action speed with her haste mote. This is why if players are to choose between Oberon and Wisp, the latter is the best as it provides insane health and health regeneration, plus the Warframe has other buffs that will increase the kill speed of your allies. They usually don't mind the bonus armor that Oberon gives, as Wisp provides more benefit overall in a team setup. There are other Warframes such as Garuda with her Blood Altar that is better when it comes to healing Warframes, as it's based on percentage and not flat heal rate. But then again, Wisp is still meta when it comes to supporting the whole team because she doesn't just provide healing. There are also instances wherein a Warframe such as Nesha can be a good teammate with his Safeguard augment that grants the warding halo buff to allies with 50% effectiveness. It's also good, but players still prefer Wisp motes as it doesn't expire and you can just run back to the mote if the buff is close to depletion. When it comes to healing support, I think Wisp is the best overall Warframe for this, but this doesn't mean that she is the best when it comes to team survivability, as health and health regeneration alone won't be that helpful against high-level enemies. Also, you might forgot the fact that Trinity exists in the game that gives you full shield and health recovery, and as well as damage reduction to all her allies within affinity range when she casts her ultimate ability called Blessing. This is the original Warframe that as long as she don't die, the whole team won't die. But things have changed right now and Trinity is nowhere near as useful because of the Helminth system that provides more depth to Warframes and also offers good survivability setup without needing to rely on a Warframe. In addition, Trinity is being bullied by newer Warframes right now, and the fact that shield gating exists, which we will tackle later, the Warframe has been forgotten by players. There are other forms of survivability in the game, and another one is crowd control. This form is great in the past as it affects all enemies, but crowd control abilities got fucked up after the Eximus rework. Right now, most of the crowd control abilities don't work against Eximus units, and you would need to take down their overguard first before they can crowd control them. However, there are certain abilities that works against Eximus units, and the good thing is that they are part of the Helminth system. The first one is Breach Surge. You can subsume Wisp Breach Surge ability to one of your Warframe to be a main source of crowd control. This does not only affect trash mobs, but also Eximus units with overguard, and once they are affected, they won't do anything and just walk around. Breach Surge can also be a great source of damage against multiple enemies, especially if you can pair range and power strength in your build. It's really fun to see those sparks flying everywhere and killing steel path enemies easily. Another great crowd control ability for Eximus units and other enemies in the game is Mace's Shooting Gallery. However, it's not like Breach Surge that can work as soon as applied, because for Shooting Gallery to be an effective crowd control, one must equip its augment called Muzzle Flash. The augment blind enemies after you fulfill the 6 kill requirement, and it does affect Eximus units. Just like Breach Surge, enemies affected by Muzzle Flash will do nothing and just walk around the map. Now, you might think that Excalibur's Radio Blind will do the same, but that is not the case though. Muzzle Flash blind mechanic is the only one that can affect Eximus units, and not Excalibur's Radio Blind or even Excalibur Umbra's Radio Howl. Also, let's talk about the cold status as a good crowd control in Warframe right now. Enemies under Overguard can receive a maximum of 4 cold procs until the health buffer is removed. This will slow them down, which adds good crowd control for Warframes such as Frost, or even subsuming Gauss ability called Thermal Sunder and using the cold proc of the skill. Special units such as Steel Path Acolytes will also receive 4 stack of cold procs that slow them down for a bit, but the best usage of the cold status is against trash mob units or those special units that don't have overguard, such as Demolist units. When you are doing Disruption mission next time, you don't need to have Magus lockdown your operator or the gloom ability in your warframe just to slow the movement of the Demolist unit without reaching their disabling aura. All you need to do is pick a sentinel with the Verglass weapon and mod for high status and a cold status mod to inflict 9 stacks of cold status fast into the Demolist target. This will slow them down for 90%, making it easier to kill them and ensuring that they won't reach the conduit that you are defending. Now, Frost is a great support warframe for the whole team's survivability, not just because of the cold procs that slows down enemies, but also because of the overguard mechanic that the warframe have right now. His Icy Avalanche augment can give you overguard per cast of his 4th ability, making Frost an absolute defense anchor for survivability. He got his bubble to protect allies, and then you have overguard to give you damage and vulnerability, and as well as status immunity. Then he got abilities that inflict cold procs and slow down even eximus units. Frost is an insane warframe that you must try right now. However, we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg here, and all the things you heard were the early form of survivability. Now, overguard is a great addition to the game as it provides another layer of health and also status immunity. This is just me, and I am well aware that many would disagree with my opinion as it's somehow broken, but I would love to see an overguard mechanic added to the helmet system to fix all the squishy warframes such as Banshee. The warframe is insane as it's one of the best damage buffing warframes in the game, but many players don't like playing Banshee since her survivability sucks. If Digital Extremes won't add any overguard mechanic in the helmet system, then I'm hoping that Banshee can get the overguard treatment when the developer decides to rework the warframe. Okay, back to the topic. So there are a few warframes that are heavy with overguard mechanic right now, and some are broken to the point wherein they can maintain the overguard and even share it with other players. We talk about the overguard of Frost being a good team survivability, as you will get overguard every cast of Icy Avalanche. There's also Kullervo's overguard, Rhino, or even Atlas with his rumbled augment, but I think it's safe to say that Frost is the best when it comes to team plays, as the overguard he received is shared to the whole team. The most broken warframe when it comes to sharing overguard is obviously Styanax with his Intrepid Stand augment. The augment allows his final stand ability to acquire overguard per hit, and we all know how busted this is with a Nourish Styanax setup. The whole concept of the synergy will be Nourish, increasing the effectiveness of Rally Points energy regeneration so we can spam his 4th ability, allowing us to abuse the overguard mechanic and sharing it to the whole team within 50 meters radius. Basically, all you need to do is spam Final Stand, and every hit will give you and your allies overguard, which is insane. Now, before we proceed to my best survivability setup, I would also want to talk about warframes that can share invisibility and invulnerability. The first warframe that can render all allies invisible is Octavia with her Nocturne buff from the Metronome ability. You can have infinite invisibility with this ability, but players hate that they are required to teabag every once in a while just to maintain the invisibility. That is why sometimes players prefer Smoke Shadow Ash to give them invisibility while adding critical chance bonus to their weapons. The only problem though is that Ash invisibility is the shortest and it's trash compared to Octavia's Nocturne buff. Most Ash players will go for long duration builds and even equip 5 Red Tau Forged Archon Shard in their build to increase the duration of Ash's invisibility. Lastly, I want to talk about Shield, the shield gating mechanic, and how you can abuse it so you can turn everyone in your team immortal. Now, I know that Mesmer Shield Revenant exists, and with the augment, you can give 5 invulnerability charges to your allies. If you use a Nourish build Revenant paired with energy maintenance setup such as the Zenuric Focus, then you can just spam his Mesmer Skin ability every time to give full immunity to damage and status on your allies. This is by far the best survivability setup, but honestly, it's annoying to use sometimes and it's not fun at all. Revenant is at the top of the food chain right now for one reason, and that is the need of the players to not die. He is a top tier warframe, but the gameplay is boring, and I love to have unique teams set up that is actually fun to use. Now, shield and shield gating mechanic has been in the game for a very long time, and it's a staple survivability setup for warframe players. The recent update just made shield better by adding 50% more damage reduction to all damage types except for toxin. This is insane as you compare this with adaptation to get more damage reduction in your shield, and the best part is the higher your shield values, the longer the invulnerability you receive from the shield gating mechanic. However, building for high shield values is not the best way when you want to abuse the shield gating mechanic in the game. In my opinion, the most needed things that you need to abuse shield gating is low shield values and a good energy economy. There is a mod called Catalyzing Shield that lowers your base shield values, and when you deplete all your shield, then you will gain 1.33 seconds of immunity to all damage types. In addition, there's also the Brief Respite Aura mod that converts 150% of energy spent to shields while overshields are inactive. In case you are new to the game, overshields are those purple shield values you get, and you can have 1200 overshield values into your warframe. However, the overshield doesn't have 50% damage reduction values as your base and modded shield values. Also, we have the Augur mod set that converts energy spent to shields without the no overshield requirement. 2 auger mods and use secondary +1 in your warframe will give you 120% shield conversion through energy spent. It's not as high as brief respite, but it's more reliable compared to the aura mod. Now, if you have a setup that can spam abilities that drains at least 50 energy per cast, then you can have the max shield value every time you cast that ability, and this lets you abuse the shield gating mechanic. If you have Volt with a capacitance build, then all you need to do is add an energy maintained setup, such as equipping Arcane Energize paired with the Zenuric Focus to cast his 4th ability frequently and abuse the shield gating mechanic. Or you can use Mag with a catalyzing shield build, cast her Crush ability to replenish your shield values. On top of that, you can add both Brief Respite and the Augur mods, so when you are using the other abilities of the Warframes that don't regenerate shield, you can still get shield values and abuse the shield gating mechanic. This is great, especially if you have endless pool of energy, but the problem is that based on experience, you will be too focused on shield gating sometimes that you don't enjoy killing enemies in the mission. The enjoyment gets sucked up by prioritizing your survivability with the use of shield gating mechanic, and you can't chill for one moment since you will need to restore your shield before that 133 seconds invulnerability runs out. This is annoying also in higher levels. That is why sometimes I do high shield values with adaptation, build with both Volt and Mag to somehow get rid of that stigma that I need to spam my 4th ability over and over again. Although shield gating is a great tool for warframes such as Mag and Volt, but they are sometimes annoying to play. But there are warframes in the game that can abuse shield gating without overworking yourself. Actually, there are 2, and we talked about the first one a while ago. The second warframe is the one I am enjoying right now, and I actually made a video about this warframe a week ago. Who are these warframes? It's Equinox and Styanax. Now, aside from the overguard mechanic you can gain from Styanax through his Intrepid Stand augment, the warframe was already a beast when it comes to survivability, as it lets you abuse the shield gating mechanic. Back then, I was using a Decaying Dragon Key setup to lower the shield values, but now, catalyzing shield Styanax is the way to abuse the shield gating mechanic with this warframe. Styanax has the rally point ability that doesn't just increase energy regeneration, but it lets you replenish your shield when you kill an enemy. And by the way, all of your allies can also benefit from this, as when they kill an enemy, all of the team will gain a shield value dependent on how much power strength you have in your Styanax build. This can make the whole team immortal given the fact that they are also using the catalyzing shield mod and have equipped the resistance arcane to get rid of the weakness of shield builds, which is toxin damage. By the way, arcane resistance only resists the toxin status and not the toxin damage. For Styanax, you won't need this because of his overguard mechanic, but for a warframe like Equinox, this is a best in slot arcane, as you would need to deny the toxin aura of those venomous eximus units. Getting back to the topic, my Styanax has 185 base shield right now while I have the catalyzing shield. This means I need to restore 185 shield to get the 133 seconds invulnerability again after the previous shield gating proc. With a 308% build, I will get 154 shield per enemy kill. That is why I need more power strength in the form of Molt augmented to further boost that shield gain to 185 or more per kill. With this build, you can turn Styanax into the ultimate support in the game. You and your allies can abuse the shield gating mechanic per kill, then you also have insane energy regeneration from Nourish and Rally Point combo. On top of that, you also have Overguard, which makes Styanax one of the most broken warframe in the game in high-level team plays. The same goes with Equinox, but it's a different story since there's no Overguard mechanic on the warframe. Still, Equinox can let you abuse the shield gating mechanic easily with her mendability. Honestly, I think the concept for Styanax Rally Point was taken from Equinox's mendability, minus the energy-hungry mechanic, which makes the newer warframe better. But like I have said, Equinox can still be great with the right mod setup, as you can let your whole team abuse the invulnerability of the shield gate feature. First of all, equipping catalyzing shield will lower Equinox shield values to 74. You would need at least 300% power strength to get 75 shield per kill on her mendability, and this can be achieved using the new Precision Intensify Arcane plus the power strength stack you get from Molt Augmented. Every kill you make will give you 75 or more shields, and once it depletes, all your team needs to do is just kill enemies to restore your shield. For Equinox, you will need to kill just one enemy to abuse the shield gating mechanic, but for other warframes, it might take 2 or more, especially if they don't have the catalyzing shield mod in their build. Also, if I were to change this build, I would remove Preparation and add Prime Sure-Footed for the knockdown resistance. In addition, I added Nourish in this build, not just for energy restoration with energy orbs, but also because of the viral procs that is added to my weapons. Also, Nourish also serves as a safety net when her 4th ability fails to restore shield, as it's disabled by enemies like an Acolyte. One cast of Nourish will restore my Equinox shield, hence giving me another way to abuse the shield gating mechanic. Lastly, for this Equinox build, I did add 2 Emerald Archon Shard to get the armor strip for corrosive procs. Then I also added 2 Yellow Tau Forged Archon Shard for the casting speed bonus, and 1 Tau Forged Violet Archon Shard for that equilibrium effect wherein I can pick up health orbs also, which can be converted to energy. Honestly, compared to Revenant, both Equinox and Styanax are more fun to play within a team as they add more value and they're using actual mechanics in the game that we can abuse. Revenant is a one press button warframe, and sometimes I don't like just that type of boring gameplay as I am more towards using different mechanics in the game to make a warframe build better. So that's all about it. I hope that you have learned something from this video. For comments, suggestions, and feedbacks, please use the comment section below so we can discuss your concerns. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Squad Leader signing off.
This is the future.